I was doing my interview. I get really emotional when I talk about you guys. You guys mean so much to me. It's just, I don't know. It just started a long time ago. We talked about with John, and you guys were younger, and then to take a chance on coming down to Western, it was awesome. It just
Well, I speak for both of us. The best chance we both took.
been a 50-year relationship that's never going away.
I know, same here. Yeah, for sure. I definitely had a different first day.
He had a much different day than I did.
So I came down, I had an interesting, I guess, way to get here. Didn't know how long it was going to take to get here. I got a ride part of the way. I had to hitchhike part of the way to college. So I ended up arriving in Jackson County, and I got dropped off at the Burger King on the edge of town, which is not the same now. It's still there, but there was no lights back then. It was a little different. And I hung out for a while, and some kids came in. I said, hey, how far is Western? Whatever. Said, hey, we'll take you. I said, I need a ride in. They said, where are you staying tonight? I said, I don't know, because I got here a lot earlier than what I thought I was going to get to Cullowhee. And here's the other thing. I hadn't registered for classes or anything. So they take me in. I end up staying in the fraternity house, stayed at Zi house for a couple days. And coach, so I got on campus the next day. They told me to go to his office. Well, they sent me to Reed Gym. Well, little did I know, that was the last year at Reed Gym. You had already moved into the Ramsey Center, the new building. And so I went in his office, and he wasn't there. It wasn't even locked. So I went in, and you remember all those coaches' offices were right on that door, and all the professors. And he was out of town. Of course, no cell phones. You can't call anybody. I didn't have his number. But in his office, I told him this before, but so his chair faced the front wall. Of course, there's windows to the right, but behind him, there was an article of John in his office. And so that was pretty cool to see, because I hadn't even seen Coach Leggett yet. I had gone in, and so my first day in Reed Gym, I saw it was just a thumbtack to the wall about John and passing. And so I thought that was pretty cool. And then I finally ended up getting over to the Ramsey Center, and well, Dave Hyatt was there, and his assistant coach, and he showed me around and took me to the white building, and the ladies were like, okay, you want to come to school here? It starts next week, and wrote all the papers down, and I was in school, and that's the God's honest truth. And so I was actually here about 4 or 5 days early. I just remember how hot it was, being from Vermont, waking up in the morning. It's like cloudy. You think, oh, it's going to rain. And then Smoky Mountains means smoke blows off, in the morning, and it's nice. So that was my first day. And then Coach came on, and we moved into Leatherwood, and and he said, I'll give you 1 semester in Leatherwood, and if you can play, you can stay. If not, then that's it. So that's basically what he said in layman's terms. I thought it was a fair deal. I didn't have a problem with it. I mean, he didn't have to put me in the dorm for the semester, and I literally remember having like 6 catchers our first practice. I have never seen so many catchers. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I was a little intimidated, I guess, coming from Vermont, but we settled in, and it was all good. But that was kind of my first couple days in Cullowhee. But it was interesting. Think about with the no cell phones and the computers, but going into Reed Gym and seeing the John's article on his wall made me feel pretty good. I knew it was in the right place.
I don't remember all of that.
Wasn't here. You were out of town recruiting.
I was out of town recruiting, I guess. But I just remember, like I told you before, seeing these guys on the video and thinking, in my mind, I wanted to take care of all Vermonters. I was a Vermonter. I was blue collar like these guys. I played a bunch of sports in high school, and I always felt like I wanted to give somebody from Vermont a chance. And when I saw these two, and of course I knew the family, I just fell in love with the opportunity to give them an opportunity. And so Todd, kind of laid the, foundation for Matt to come the next year. And once I saw Todd really improve during that fall semester, I think he really improved. He wasn't playing soccer anymore, wasn't playing basketball anymore, he was playing baseball, and his arm was getting better, his swing was getting better, everything was happening. I'm thinking to myself, we got ourselves a chance to have a really good catcher here. And then Of course, I knew Matt was coming or potentially coming the next time around. And I said, well, if he's going to improve as much as him, he's going to be a really good player too. And so we just had a good relationship from the very beginning. I think they understood me. I understood them. I trusted them. They trusted me. And they were really good, coachable athletes. And they became better and better each year. And each time we went out to the field, they got better and better. They weren't expecting, one thing I mentioned before too, they were not expecting any handout, weren't expecting scholarship, weren't expecting, what can you do for me? It was just all about that one word that I mentioned, that's an opportunity. They want an opportunity, and I really wanted an opportunity to coach them.
What drew you guys, and maybe Matt, start this time, what drew you guys to Coach Leggett in Western?
Well, I think it starts back when he was at University of Vermont, and when John first got sick, you know, the hospital was like an hour away for us. My parents tried to go down as much as we could, and I remember my mom saying that Coach Leggett had went to John's side several times. You know, John wasn't going to go to school to UVM because they developed a relationship with him, and that's how I first heard of his name, Coach Leggett. Never met him at that time either. I didn't meet him until later when Todd was enrolled as a freshman.
What drew you to
Well, I mean, for some reason in my mind, I knew I wanted to go baseball. I knew I wanted to go south. I had some opportunities to play different sports at smaller schools in New England, multiple sports, but it was not what I wanted to do. And I wanted to play for Coach Leggett because, like Matt said, you know, Coach Leggett left University of Vermont, came here, but, you know, John was his #1 recruit. And, you know, after John decided to go to Central Florida, Coach Leggett still stood with him, showed everything, I think, to our family. Even at a young age, you know, we were drawn to that. And I didn't know anybody. There was no internet. I mean, hand-typed letter. Hey, Coach, I want an opportunity. You know what I mean? So we were drawn to Coach Leggett because of what he did for our family when he didn't have to do it. Most people lose recruits, they don't come back around. So I think even at a young age, you know, my parents must have known that. I must have somehow known it, and it seemed like that was the only choice. And there wasn't a lot of coaches in Vermont that left and went on to be big baseball coaches. Probably him is the only one I know. So he was a big name in Vermont at the time, and that's just where we wanted to go. I mean, that's what I wanted to do. It's all I wanted to do was go play for Coach Leggett in the South, where it was warm, play Division I baseball. Even though I never saw a game on TV. First college game I ever saw, I played in. How about that? Never saw a campus. Never saw the first game I ever saw in college baseball. It has changed, right? So I knew that's what I wanted to do, though. So that's all I wanted to do, and we typed Coach a letter and he gave us that opportunity.
Yeah. And we met at Howard Johnson's on a really cold day. Is it true that my battery died
Your
that
battery
day?
died, yeah. We went to Howard Johnson's, you know where it is, right across from Mills and Greer. It used to be, I don't know if it's still there, but we met because we had started the introductions in the kind of the fall, and he said, I'm coming up for Christmas to see my family, let's meet. So we went there and we had I don't know, either had breakfast or hot cocoa or something. It was cold Vermont day. And I was getting ready to leave and I started to pull out and I hear banging on my door. He says, my car won't start. It was that old blue Ford LTD or whatever that thing was. Grand Prix. And so we jumped him off and then I really didn't hear from him again for a couple months. You know, his season started, my senior year started, and yeah, it's kind of a crazy story, but I remember it was cold. Yeah. It was cold that day. I remember I had my pea coat on, the old Navy pea coat. I was like, yeah, that's why I don't live there anymore.
So when all of you are at, so it'd be your freshman year, you're now all at Western at the same time. Do you feel more veteran as a sophomore? Does it still feel new? Is there still 6 catchers?
No.
Showing your brother the way, or are you still you're trying to survive?
No, I think that your sophomore year is totally different. I think for anybody, you know everything as far as you know what the dorm looks like, you know what the coaches want. You know, we were really on a great run of winning championships, so I just kind of fell into place. You know, I had a really good catcher in front of me my first year. I learned a lot. You know, I played a lot towards the end, caught some games, DH'd some games. So no, when I came in, we still had another good catcher and everything, but I felt pretty good about it. I don't know if I thought it in that terms. You know, I mean, I just wanted to play and get better, and I felt like I was going to be the guy because I think Coach told me I probably was if I did things the right way. And Matt, I mean, I don't know if it was a little easier for him because he had me. I don't know, but I don't remember I don't remember Matt having any issues as far as being like homesick or not getting along or didn't understand the system. I can't remember one day really where he had any, I mean, you know, issues as far as, you know, fitting in. I think he knew, and it was a pretty natural process, honestly.
Yeah.
As a younger brother, obviously he's there, you know, I look up to him in a lot of ways. So for me to follow him and to play with him was going to be a great opportunity for me, for him, for, you know, both our family, our parents. When I came in as a freshman, I was probably lucky in a way that the third baseman the year before got drafted. I don't know if it was unexpected or higher than they thought. That's why Coach Leggett started recruiting me a little bit more. I wasn't high on his list until then. I pick on him, but I came in and I actually got to play right off the get-go, which is now, you know, it's hard to do it 30 years ago or even today, but you know, I was given a good opportunity, and you know, my first year I kind of took advantage of it and I had a really good freshman year.
And how would you describe Coach Leggett's style with, I'm assuming it's the same whether you're a new player or been on the team?
Well, I think he gives you a little more leeway as you get older and you show them what you're all about. You know, I've always said this to other people about Coach. I mean, I consider him the greatest college coach of all time, honestly. And I'm biased, but, you know, his wins speak for that. You know, Mike Martin, Augie Garrido, Skip Bertman, probably the four greatest, but I put Coach there. His style, I always thought, to me, was he let you play. So he knew what made you tick, and that's what made him such a great coach. I was off sometimes. You know, I was a little edgy, I want to say, like to fight and do things like that. Coach had a way of keeping me in the box, but not dampening that. You know what I mean? I don't know how he did it. He just had that natural ability to get everybody to play really hard for him. And it started because he cared. Nobody cares until you know how much they care. So I think that, to me, he always somehow was able to get me to where I wanted pretty easily. And listen, I mean, he got me plenty of times, and every time I deserved it, I needed it, but I didn't have a problem with it. You know, everything I ever did that he yelled at me for, I deserved it, but he made us better players, and more importantly, made us better people. And, you know, every player you coach is a little different. I was edgy. I mean, I know I wasn't the easiest guy to coach. I know that because I would say something, I'd chirp off the pitcher, you know, I'd do, you know, go by first. Some, you know, a couple brawls over the years. But, you know, he'd reel you back. He just had a way, not just to that, but he got a way you play hard every day. He didn't have to say much. But when he did, you listened because he was telling me the truth. So a lot of coaching like that. So to me, he was the easiest guy ever to play for in a way because he's always the same every day. You know, when you're younger, you don't like it. You're like, oh, God, Coach Leggett, you know, God, making me run this and that.
10-hour practices every Saturday and Sunday.
No NCAA rules back then, right?
40-hour week for sure.
Yeah. So it was a little different. We didn't have practice restraints either. You know, we wasn't 4 weeks in the fall. It was so. Yeah. So it, you know, for me, it was. I had no problems with anything ever with Coach. Like I said, he reeled me in. He knew just how to coach us. And I want to speak for everybody. I think it was the same way. He just knew how to get each. But we're not all the same. We treated the same, but treated differently in the way of how he got you to play hard, I think. And he knew how to get me to play hard. So I don't ever remember leaving too much on the field, ever. So
They're easy to coach. You know, he's throwing a little bit on me, but they came with the drive, the passion. You know, had to learn some fundamentals, had to learn a little bit more about the game, had to learn a little bit more about the intricacies of the whole game, but the knowledge base, the ability to want to learn was there. And they were competitive, they were tough. So all you had to do is kind of mold it a little bit of, like you wanted it to be and within the team framework. And these guys were easy to coach. I don't remember any problems. I don't remember anything except just fun to see them every single day because I knew they wanted to be there. They just were happy to be down there and what do we got to do next? And they were tough. So I was kind of a tough guy at times. And so it never felt like punishment to them to run or whatever to do. It was like, this is what we got to do. This is what coach is trying to make us do to get ourselves better. And he's challenging us. There was no whining or crying or complaining, maybe behind my back or something, back under the door or something.
Yeah, if you had a microphone in the door.
But I never felt like, there was any hard thing to coach with any of these guys. Either these guys were a pleasure to coach. If I had 40 years of Raleighs, I'd be really happy.
What was most enjoyable watching or playing with your brother Todd?
Well, I can say we're almost like the Mannings in football. Todd and I used to fight a lot, whether it was pitching. I was a pitcher my whole life. He was a catcher his whole life. And, I have to tell you a quick story. I was playing a high school game, and he's catching, I'm pitching. My dad's watching the game from his car, and Todd puts down number 1. I said, I'm going to throw this guy a curveball. I shake him off 2 or 3 times. He calls timeout. He just simply walks out to the mound and says, "You don't call me off." So now I'm mad because he's, he goes back down and he puts 1 down. I say no. So now he's mad. He gets somebody and just throws whatever you want. So I throw my curveball. He catches it bare hand. And now,
took my glove off.
Now I wasn't too happy because he told me my curveball sucked anyway. So he pretends he's going to lob it back to me. And he throws a missile at me, and I catch it in my bare hand. But I did mine out of self-defense. I didn't know it was coming. And I see Ed Brio was our umpire, and I see my dad. This is God's honest truth. I see him open his car door, and his belt was already off. He was walking towards the field. So playing with, and we have a lot of Little League games back in the day. Actually, since this is obviously about John, he was running the Swanton rec department when Todd and I played Little League. And Todd and I are the only 2 players that I've ever met that weren't allowed to play on the same team. The league wouldn't let it happen. Matter of fact, during tryouts, I hit left-handed, and I still was the first pick.
They try to deceive everybody on draft day.
So I went in, did everything off the hand.
Uncle Richard.
This is Uncle Richard.
He was my coach for the Expos.
Yeah.
Matt goes, they don't know in Swanton, Vermont with no traffic light. He tell him to miss every ball. Richard did. He pulled him aside, bat left-handed. Didn't work.
So it didn't work. But later, a couple of years later, we were the 2 best teams, and we ended up facing each other. I don't know if it was just a regular season game or playoff game.
It's regular season.
Well, John's the umpire, and he's got no shirt on back then. Just got his little pad in front, little face mask. My mom's on one side next to the dugout. My dad's on the other side because we're both in different dugouts. Long story short, I think we both had 50. These numbers are the God's honest truth. We both struck out 15, I think.
17.
So he remembers.
It was in the paper.
We both hit a home run off each other. And my brother in the 5th inning said, "Game over." Called the darkness, and it wasn't really dark. It just we didn't know.
We had to.
So we go home. My dad says, "I don't want to hear a word. You guys go out back and you finish it, and then come in for dinner." So we went out and we fought for 2 hours.
We played in the backyard. Yeah, so John was the umpire at home, and we only gave 1 hit each. Yeah. Both home runs against each other, and there's 1 ground ball to short for each team, and the rest were strikeouts. My grandmother took the clipping out of the paper, and I have it in a scrapbook. That's why I remember it. Oh, and it ended up being a 6-6. It went 6 innings actually, but it was a tie and was darkness, and we came back and they got us. But we went at that night in the backyard, and I finished them off with the wiffle ball game in the extra inning. That's what happened. We did kind of go home.
What were you then?
I was 12. He was 11.
Okay. 11. Yeah.
I was 12. So they call it the greatest game, and literally it was 1-1, 17 punch outs, 1 home run off each other. And then you guys ended up beating us a week later, playing that 1 extra inning game. It was the Royals. Kevin Priest was your coach. And my Uncle Richard was the Expo. You probably remember those teams. We had 4 teams: Red Sox, Yankees, Royals, and Expos. I know, isn't that crazy? So like I said, my grandmother caught all her clippings out, so that's why I have it. It's in there. It's just a little burp and messenger about that big, and I still have it to this day. So my mom remembers it. Everybody remembers it. And the irony, John was the umpire. And what's even worse than that, not worse, but even better, I think that I struck him out twice. He struck me out twice. And I think one was looking both ways.
Yeah.
And then, John with the big ring up. You know what I mean? Here are the brothers.
Like a lawnmower. Yeah.
So kind of strange on that Little League game, but that's
Yeah, that probably will never happen again.
Probably not.
Well, it won't, because they don't even allow siblings to play on opposite teams. So,
well, not supposed to. Yeah.
right. And that continued a little bit through school ball, because one of us hit third, one of us hit fourth. He typically hit for better average. I had a little more power. He doesn't want to admit that, but I had a little more power than he did. And I remember a junior high game, they flipped us. I batted third, he batted fourth, and I had like 7 or 9 RBIs. And I get home, and he just punches me out of nowhere. He says, every time I came up the plate, there was no one on base. And he had no RBIs. My mom and I are like, hey, great game, 7, 8 RBI, whatever you. Todd had 0, but he had 4 hits, but I had, a home run and 3 triples or so. I don't know what it was, but I just remember him just so mad because I had all the RBIs. So we were competitive. We continued it here at Western, but I think by then we had gotten a little more mature and older, where, we did it. We channeled it in a good way.
And obviously you guys seem to be competitive with one another, but found a way. It seems like you guys certainly pushed each other to be better. Is there a championship that you share where, and it could be a different one, but ones that you guys had together that you look back and say?
Well, it probably started in high school, when he was catching and I was pitching. Was that BFA that year? Or was
Ball
it?
State, Ball State championship.
So we won it in 86, 87, and 88. He wasn't on the team in 88. I'll tell you another funny story about that later. But 86 and 87, I pitched in both those games. He caught in both those games. I think, was it BFA where you threw out the runner on the backside?
I picked him off in the
7th inning. So, I mean, we've, as much as I, thought it was me pitching, he thought it was both of us just working together. And, obviously at the plate, we did more than hold our own offensively. We did a lot of good stuff in high school for sure. And we got here, I think Todd still may have one of the records for most RBIs in the season. I think he had 78 one year. Is that right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I don't think that record's ever been broken. So our battles amongst each other just made us better, simply. And it was easy for me to follow him because I always trusted what he was going to do.
Yeah, I mean, it was easy. I mean, I don't think in college it was any competition. I mean, we typically batted 3-4, in that area in college. We hit some back-to-back home runs. Those were good moments, but the environment was competitive. I never felt ever once in my life that, that was because of Matt. You know what I mean? It just didn't feel, I felt like we were all in it together. So I never felt that, but we did have some telepathy going on. We were able to communicate a lot on the field about what pitchers were doing or pickoffs. Remember the Southern Conference tournament, of course, we won a great run. Coach Leggett won, I don't know how many in a row, 5 in a row. And we were part of that. And those were tremendous things too. But we were playing East Tennessee State, and Ken Campbell was the coach. He's reminded me this years after it. We were beating them pretty good. We're up like 10-3 in the 9th. And they got a guy on third. It's 10-3, and he's got like a 12-foot lead. And I look over at Matt, and he goes, just, one of this little thing nobody pick up. So I got the ball, threw it from my knees. Kid never even went back. So Matt just walked up to him, tagged him out. Not how you want to end a conference. That was their double elimination game. Coach Campbell was like, we're down 7. I don't know what he was thinking, but we had a lot of that going on too. With Matt, with stuff like that. We were able to communicate signs too, second base, and so it was just normal stuff, I think. But we did have a little bit of stuff. We didn't have to talk a lot. You could tell kind of things of moving over or whatever, bunt plays. But yeah, familiarity.
Any moments of Coach getting heated that was more humor than?
Well, there's a lot of those. One of my favorites is when I can't remember his name, the grounds crew guy here. What was his name?
Clifton.
Clifton. I don't think he did the field the way Coach Leggett liked it, and and just he was always come down. He would check in on Coach, and Coach was usually very respectful for him. But one day, Cliff, when he left, he chirped and he said something under his breath, but he said it just loud enough where I think he was climbing the fence to go after him, and he was ready. So every time I go down to the field, I see Cliff running and Coach Leggett running after him, But if you play for Coach, I know he used to come in the dugout. I can remember this when we played up to, what's the team up in Roanoke there? It used to be an all-girls school. We'll go there for spring. Radford.
Oh, yeah.
We went to Radford, and, he's a very energetic guy. All his eyes are just, he comes back from that umpires meeting, and he would just come in and just... He'd go a little like a football game. Like you'd think you'd go to a Western baseball game, he would be sliding in there. He would be coming in, rah, rah, rah. And I remember he used to take his hat off. But then one day I was like, I got to get him. I might have cracked his rib. I think I did. But I gave him like 3 rib shots. And he was so excited about the game just being ready to start. It was like the 3rd inning. He says, I think someone broke my rib. Most guys would have known right there but he's so fired up. And that's what, if you can't play for Coach Leggett, you can't play for anyone, because the guy is willing to win at all costs. When I say at all costs, not for anybody's, for health or, injuries, but if you see someone lead you that way, it's easy to play that way. So if you can't play for him, but he would come in rah, rah, like I said, and I think Todd sent him a picture when I coached a high school game this year. I don't like doing it, because when I did last time, I blew my shoulder out. I broke 2 fingers. Someone cracked one of my ribs, but I only do it in big games, and when I do, we usually win because my guys are so fired up. So it's this thing I've kind of carried over just for the passion of the game. So, that's one of my funny couple stories. I'm sure Todd has more. Todd's got much better memory than I do.
I don't even know where to start on the funny stories. There's a lot of them. None of them were funny at the time. But some of the disciplinary stories are pretty good and pretty funny. I do remember one. It's not really funny too much, but looking back on it, it just amazes me where college baseball has come and the different era that we played in. And we were playing in the Southern Conference tournament, and it rained for like a week or 10. It was crazy. Yeah. We were seeing, we got rained out every day, and we ended up missing our final exams. Didn't have to take them. Best finals ever. School had went, and we were still there. But anyway, they got down to 4 teams. I think the military schools had to leave or something. So we played. So they ended up condensing the Southern Conference championship.
We made a single elimination.
Yes.
Anybody who lost was gone.
Yeah. So I think it was still. Yeah, it was at Montreal.
Yeah, I remember that.
So we had beat Marshall in a tough game, 4-2 game. We played an earlier game. Well, App State had to beat Marshall and then had to beat us twice. And we got on the bus to go get something to eat because they're going to play a 3rd game that day and a 4th game the next day, if whatever. Well, App State says, we can't beat Marshall and we can't beat Western twice on enough pitching. They forfeited the game. And Coach Leggett comes running on the bus or whatever, and you could see him going out there. We were all on the bus, and all you could see was this going on, and you and Coach Morris, I don't remember what all that happened, but he came on the bus and said, we're not going anywhere, we got to play again. And we got off the bus, and we ended up beating Marshall again, and we had beaten App earlier in that tournament. But do you remember that when you came on? And it's the maddest I've ever seen him, and we were scared to death because we thought we had done, so we just won a good game. We thought we were going to go eat, come back, play another game. And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't funny at the time, but I can't even imagine a college coach forfeiting a game in a tournament in today's day and age, or what would happen. But they ended up not playing because I guess they said didn't have enough pitching, didn't think they could do it. They want us to win. I don't think Coach Morris had a lot of good things to say about Coach Leggett because, Coach Morris, he's the Appalachian coach. Back then, the Western App were rivals. And then, I don't know, my numbers aren't right, but App ruled the conference until Coach Leggett got here. When Coach Leggett got here, Western ruled the conference, and he didn't like that. So there was no love lost there, and it was a great rivalry back then. But yeah, like I said, it's not really funny. It's funny now looking back on how something like that could happen. But I just remember how mad he was when that happened, and I don't know. We have a lot of stories. We used to.
Some of my favorite stories are when we traveled together as teams, and we would, as a general rule, we had small budget, so we would go play someplace and we would exchange meals. We'll come to your place this year, and you put us up lodging, and we'll eat in your cafeteria. And next year, we'll put you up on campus and feed in our cafeteria. And so we would go back and forth with schools. Like, we had about 5 schools that we did that with, and we were just talking about it in there. But everybody got the better deal when they came to Western. They got to stay in the girls' dorm, Scott dorm, and they got to eat in our cafeteria, which is a good cafeteria, Dotson cafeteria. And wherever we went, we were in some, bunk place
room
with bad cafeteria. It didn't always turn out in our favor, but we were always trying to save money. But we've had more. I was just saying, I think I spent 9 years of my birthday with these guys in some godforsaken place, whether it be Campbell University or East Carolina or Citadel or we were Campbell University.
High
Point.
Yeah.
We stay in rooms no bigger than this, all bunks.
All bunks.
Yeah.
And bathrooms.
30 people.
And there's always some kind of thing that happened at night when the guys are trying to settle down or something. My favorite story, we just told it in here, I got to tell it, but is when we're at East Carolina, it's pitch dark and there's no windows at all, so you can't see the back of your eyelids, and there's 2 separate rooms and a bathroom, showers in between, and it's underneath the football stands at East Carolina, and I hear this stuff going on in the other room. There are little shenanigans going on, pillows or whatever, and I get up and I said, I'll surprise these guys. They're out of bed, and I had it already. I knew it was like 7 steps over here, 7 steps this way, and 7 to the bathroom because I knew it was going to happen.
Pitch black.
So it's pitch dark. I go over and I touch the wall. I know where the light switch is, and it's taped shut with athletic tape.
All right.
I go, okay, something's going on here. So I keep continuing back here, and I go, I feel a body, I feel a face right next to me. And the person goes, who's this? And I go, it's Leggett. And I can't tell you what he said after that. He goes, no kidding, but he didn't say that. I go, no, it's Leggett. He goes, no, who is it? I go, it's Leggett. He goes, oh my God. So I go over to the light switch, take the tape off, switch it on. There's like 5 guys out of bed, one of which was Matt Raleigh. And so anyway, I said, I'll see you, about 5 guys. So I got them up early in the morning. We ran around. But inside, I was a kid like them. I just, wasn't that much older. I was probably 12 years old, 13 years older than these guys. But so I knew they're having fun. I was really having fun. It really wasn't. I wasn't that mad, but it was just kind of funny. But I got to do something about it because I wanted to go to sleep. And so they'd be running around the next day, probably,
5-6 miles, then go play. Yeah.
We ran a lot in those days.
Running the worst part is he enjoys running, so he would get up and run every morning of his life. So he would just take as many guys with him, to go run. And I happened to be one of those guys a few times.
Yeah, me too. We had that one at Campbell too. We had a trainer, Bruce Langston. He would be the last guy in bed every night. He'd drive Coach like crazy. All in one room, bunks.
Great guy.
All in one room, bunks. So when you try to get 30 guys down in college at bed, lights out, doesn't work too good. But there's no phones back then, so we just did crazy things. Spitballs at night, apples, we get bag lunch and so on. But one night, Bruce Langston, our trainer, always the last guy. Every night, drove everybody crazy. And he'd always come in and do the same thing.
Loud.
Put his stuff, me, this. And he always put his underarm right before he went to bed. Well, I got the atomic bomb, and I put it on his underarm. And we all knew it was coming. Coach Leggett did. He wasn't in on it. Mm-hmm. So he puts it on. You have to know Bruce to know his accent a little bit.
Yeah.
So he puts it on, and we're watching. I'm watching intently because I know. And he goes. He starts swinging. I think somebody put something on me. And Coach Leggett's like, Bruce, what is your problem? He was screaming. And he goes, what is your problem? He's like, he can't tell he talked. And Coach like, what are you saying? He goes, Raleigh. I know it was him. He put come on. He goes, he goes or I go.
Yeah.
Coach is like,
Yeah,
Bruce, he goes, he's not going anywhere. So when he gets this, Coach Leggett to come with that, and he didn't even call me out and ask me. I think the next day he said, hey, calm down if that's you. We got him. He put the Italian mom on, and he was so mad. He talked to me for 3 weeks after that, and we laughed. But that was one of those things at night where everybody on the team knew it and were watching, and poor Bruce, we lit him up that night. And Coach is like,
funny.
And I got to tell the other part of the story, and this is really funny. And Coach knows, I don't know if he remembers, I also put under Coach Leggett's pillow. Not on the top part, but under his pillow, just a little bit. So after all that goes on, about 20, 30 minutes later, people are still talking. Coach telling everybody to go to sleep. He goes, Bruce, whoever did that to you, I think something got on my pillow or something. My eyes are watered. Well, I thought I was going to go crazy because I thought I was already in trouble with Bruce. That's why I didn't want to admit it. I didn't care about Bruce, but I didn't want to know that we put a little under Coach's pillow. I didn't put on the front part. Just want to get a little hot. Right?
Just a little toss and turn.
So when he said that, I'm like, I'm dead now. I'm like, this is not going to be good. And I don't know why Bruce thought it was me either. I don't still to this day why he called me a. Well, I mean, I guess, but that was a good story. But I think we ran it a little bit for that one too, but wasn't too bad.
But when you look back at all those trips we made, I think that was one reason why we were so successful. We were as tight as group as you could have gotten. We were, on the field, off the field. You look back at all those times, and those are the funny things now. But that's what made us one unit back then too, and that's why we were tough to beat back in those days.
Yeah. We traveled together.
We did. And the thing is, we honestly, no kidding, have 15 more stories just like that of different places. We got some we can't even tell you about. But we had some. It was the Wild West back then. No phones, and you stayed in bunk beds, and it was the greatest time of your life. Didn't know it. It was the greatest time of your life. It was an unbelievable bonding experience for our teams. We were tougher than other teams. We were.
I think it's a lot like in coaching. If you just show up at Clemson or show up at the top, you don't realize what it is to get there. And, when I grew up coaching at Todd, you watered the field, you mowed the grass, you dragged the infield, you drove the bus sometimes, the vans, whatever it was, you did the recruiting, whatever. You were doing it all. And it's the same thing with our teams. I think, we realized that, we didn't have silver spoons in our hands. We were going to eat on the road. We were going to get our $5 meal money or whatever it was. We were going to travel in vans and throw all the gear in the back. We were going to play a doubleheader whenever we had to play a doubleheader. We were going to play in cold weather. It didn't matter. So I think our kids were tough that way. And you didn't expect, some of the kids nowadays, everything is so easy to them, so easy for them. Everything's planned out for them. And we had to make adjustments along the way, but I think it made us tough. It brought us together, like Matt said. And Todd, we just bonded together. We were going to win together. We were going to lose together. We were going to play tough together. And I look back at my coaching career and 40 years of it, and the 9 years that I spent at Western with these types of guys was as most fun years I ever had. It wasn't like, a lot of these guys weren't on scholarship. A lot of the guys, Rodney Tesh's $200 in the pizza.
We still laugh about that.
Yeah. The only time he didn't want us to bond with him is funny because when he said we did everything, if it was 6, 7 in the morning and it was bad weather, our phones would start ringing in Leatherwood. And back then, there's no caller ID. And if your phone's ringing at 6 o'clock, that means Coach Leggett needs help getting the tarp on the field.
Yeah.
So we started not answering the phone. We'd tell everybody, we'd go, hey, don't answer the phone. Because the first guy answers, Coach says, I need you down here in 10 minutes. And if you answer the phone, you got to get there no matter what, because you're dead if you don't, right? So we started not answering the phone, and he'd be like, hey, where were you this morning? I was like, I must have slept real heavy, Coach. You're not going on that field at 6 in the morning and turn the tarp on so we can have a 6-hour practice.